Hey everyone, so today's episode I want to talk a bit about Plato's allegory of the cave and a bit about Socrates' discussion about that as well, and relate that to my own experience with life, and then share you some insights that I have about the story, what I think Socrates was trying to get to with Allegory's Cave. It's pretty much about Allegory's Cave, my perception and meaning of that, and what I think the practice is that Socrates was talking about in Allegory's Cave and his perception of that. And so let's get started by talking about Allegory's Cave for starters. So if you haven't heard of Allegory's Cave by Plato, it's essentially like this philosophical, metaphorical idea on reality. And so it starts with, imagine there's a group of people in a cave and they're all chained up and they're facing like this wall in the cave, like this darkness. But behind them is a light, and things walk past the light and they can see like these projections onto the wall, and so, which are shadows. And so they believe that the shadows are real, and that what they're seeing on the wall casted by the light and the shadows, is what reality is. And so they spend years and years and years there, and you can imagine that after so many years of following the shadows and watching the shadows and the routine of the shadows, right? So the sun goes in a certain pattern and a certain shadow pops up at a certain time, that they can explain why the shadows are there, right? There's this full logic behind it and this reason, and everyone's on the same page. So imagine now that one of those people in the cave escape the cave in their chains and they run outside. And so when they run outside, they're blinded by the light, right? Because they've been in the darkness for so long, they can't really see properly. So there's this process of going through darkness to light. And that, they can see the reflection of the sun through the water. They can start to see trees, and over days, weeks, whatever it is, eventually they can finally look at the sun and they see that the sun is the giver of light, and it is the reason for it's the reason why everything exists here. Like, it's the reason you can see everything. And so the light of the sun is the true essence of reality in that sense. And so you can imagine this person's now amazed, like, holy shit, like, I know the truth. I can see clearly now X, Y, Z. And so they go back into the cave. And the process of going back into the cave is also painful, right? Because you're going from light to dark, and so there's this your pupils and your retinas have to change, right? Because you're going from light to dark, and that process is also painful. And they sit down next to everyone else, and imagine they're chained up again, and they're talking to everyone, and everyone else there thinks like they're absolutely crazy. They don't believe them, and so this person now is kind of stuck in a bit of limbo. They're like, they know the truth. But there's also conformity of society. Like, they want to fit in because no one else believes in them. They think that they're a mad person, they're a crazy person, and so no one quite understands their actions, and so they feel out of place. And so this person either keeps denying and trying to convince them of something and look like a madman, or they suppress their truth and they conform back to their friends and society and start to take on the shadows again, and they can go back down into that place. But either way, it's a kind of painful experience. And so the process of the light, right? So Socrates talks about the process of going from dark to light and light to darkness. Either way, it's a painful experience because you're on a path from A to B. And so for each and every single one of us, it suggests that by pursuing our own light, by pursuing our own desires, it's going to be painful. It's going to be hard because no one else is going to understand why you're doing that. And it's a great metaphor for that, because I feel like a lot of creative people, a lot of us have this innate sense. And I say the word innate because the vision and the light isn't something that the person in the cave knew about, right? It's something that was this desire to find out and discover what was outside the cave. And so it suggests that inside all of us is an innate vision given to us by God, the light, or whatever you would like to call it. But inside all of us is implanted a vision. And so in all of us is a vision that only we can see. And so if you're the only person who can see that vision, it's going to be very, very hard for others to understand what you're pursuing and why you're doing what you do. But it is the only way that you'll be able to uncover the truth or uncover the light. And what I mean by that is your destiny, your purpose, and your true self. So the sun is a metaphor for enlightenment. It's a metaphor for truth. It's a metaphor for your highest potential. And why is that? Well, because the sun represents purity, right? It's gold, and so gold is a metal. Gold is an element that cannot be tainted. It's a pure element, right? It's and that's why we use it as a currency, so, or as a store of value. And so with the idea of gold comes the idea of purity, and so it's the purest version of yourself. With the idea of the sun, there's also enlightenment. So the sun shines and casts its rays on the earth, and you can see everything, right? So it has to do with the ability of consciousness, the ability to see and to discover yourself and who you truly are. And so with consciousness, with light, you can see the truth. And so that's what the metaphor is there. But a lot of us, because we're stuck in the cave and we're surrounded by people that can't see our vision and can't see our true desires, we tend to put ourselves down and to stay there because we want to conform to society because it's safe. There's a lack of pain there. Like, you're not in pain because you're stuck in the darkness. You don't have this desire to go out and venture into the light and go through the process of darkness to light or the process of light to dark, because even when you discover yourself, you want to go around, you want to share it all, you want to jump on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all these things, and you want to share who your authentic self is or who you think your authentic self is for some part of that. And people might not understand that and understand your message or understand where you're coming from. And so that can be quite painful too. And so even the process of going from light to dark and trying to share what you've learned, and this is fractal, right? So it doesn't mean that you know everything and you're enlightened. It just means anytime you learn knowledge, anytime you learn something that is somewhat like pursuing the light, pursuing some sort of truth, and uncovering things in the world. And so that's a difficult process as well. So then Socrates has a dialogue with someone, I forget who the name is, but essentially, because he suggests that, the process of going from darkness to light, the body is well adapted to that, right? So the body is capable and able to go from darkness to light and from lightness to dark. And we're able to change between those two things. And so it suggests that the body is already equipped and already adapted to do so. And so that the pursuing of the light and pursuing of darkness is something that is already built in humans. And so it doesn't come from us. And anything that doesn't really come from us is a shadow. And so a lot of us could be pursuing shadow values or shadow aspects of ourselves. So that just means we think it's the truth because it's, and in some sense, it still is a part of the truth, right? Because the sun is reflecting on an object and that object is casting a shadow. And so we're pursuing the shadow. And even the shadow still comes from the source of the light. So it's not a wrongdoing to pursue a shadow. It's actually a part of the process, because by pursuing the shadow, maybe that's some way of actually getting to the light or getting to this greater part of yourself, because you realize that the shadow didn't necessarily give you what you thought it would give you. It didn't uncover any more of yourself that you thought it would. And but that points you into the other direction. And so what Plato is suggesting is that this is a natural process. And so he goes, if this is a natural process, is there a practice that you can put in place that will help you transform yourself and transform your belief of who you are and get you closer to the truth quicker than any other process? And the reason I'm bringing this up today is because someone actually asked me this question 2 nights ago. And I sat down and thought about it. And they go, what do you think the practice is that Socrates was alluding to? And I really believe that the practice that Socrates is alluding to is the practice of becoming the hero. And so it is the hero's journey. And why do I believe that the hero's journey is this practice? Well, first, let's look at the hero's journey, what it is and where it came from. So the hero's journey is a narrative framework developed by Joseph Campbell that takes and looks at all other narratives in the world and comes up with one single narrative. So this doesn't mean that it's the only practice. In fact, it means that a lot of cultures, a lot of religions, a lot of people had come up with this idea of a practice to get you from point A to B and how to transform yourself. And because we're in a later stage in life, we're able to look at all these different stories. If I was in a certain culture, I only know my story, and the world wasn't connected back then. So through the evolution of technology and through the evolution of internet and sharing stories, we are now able to look at multiple stories around the world and find a common thread and find common values within those stories. And so from this, Joseph Campbell created the hero's journey, which is a narrative framework of how to embody the hero character in your life in order to expedite the process of transformation and growth within yourself, reaching enlightenment and reaching spiritual development at a higher pace or a higher rate. And not only that, it's also innate in us. So it's not just something that we decide to do and we do it. It's actually something we are already doing, but by becoming aware and conscious of this process, can we expedite the process as well? Because there are different stages, and sometimes you can imagine we get to the same stage and we make the same mistake again and we start again. But by understanding the entire narrative, we are able to make different choices and actually have a choice in the journey and become the hero of the story. Okay, so how does this relate back to Socrates and Plato's allegory of the cave? Okay, so first it states that there's a vision within all of us, or a light within all of us that is innate. So it's already implanted in us. The hero is someone who has a belief or a sense, a feeling that they are meant for something greater, a sense of wanting something more from the world, that they are made for something more in this world. However, they don't know what that is, right? And a lot of us feel like that. A lot of us feel like there is something more for us, but we don't know what it is. And that's okay, because that's actually a part of the process. Like, the only thing that we need to cultivate is the sense that we are made for something more. And a lot of us lose that sense of desire for becoming something more. And so really that's all we really want to do here at this point in this stage of the story, is like we want to be able to cultivate the sense that we are built for something more. And that comes back to self-confidence. That comes back to your mindset, the belief you have for yourself, knowing that you can do it, and knowing that you can confront the unknown when the unknown comes. Okay, so that's stage one. Then we have the call to adventure. And so what the call to adventure is, it's something chaotic that happens to you, right? So if we look at my coaching career, it wasn't like I decided to become a coach. It's because of my experiences in life that coaching appeared to me, and it was a vision that came to me. It wasn't something that I came up with. And we look at the same thing for a lot of, I was looking at someone who does like fantastic, he's a movement coach. And, he got into breakdancing, and that saved him from where he was. Breakdancing was a form of escapism from the horrors of his life. And so it wasn't like he wanted to become a breakdancer. It was that breakdancing offered him an opportunity to escape the horror of where he was. And this is the same thing for a lot of people. Same thing maybe for Arnold Schwarzenegger with bodybuilding. It's a way of trying to escape or trying to move away from where you currently are. And so sometimes it's not a clear vision. It's just something that, a desire or something that pulls you away. And so it calls you. And your decision there is to accept the call or deny the call. And a lot of us deny the call, but that's okay. Because again, that's part of the process. But it's just understanding that these things are natural. And so the reason I believe the hero's journey is the practice of what Allegory's Cave is alluding to is because it has the innate sense of desire. And that desire, and by following that desire, takes you onto these next sort of paths. And so the next path would be like actually confronting the unknown. And so by confronting the unknown, we become more of who we are and more of our potential. And so it's not about knowing where we are going. It's about knowing that we can handle the chaos. It's knowing that we can handle the unknown when it comes our way. And so the hero, and by acting like the hero, that's what we do. The hero is someone who willingly accepts the challenge of the unknown in the hopes that that unknown process will transform them for the better. And the villain is someone who stays somewhere and tries to control their environment and manipulate their environment and serve their ego. And so they do not have a relationship to the divine. They follow only their logic. They follow only what they think they should be doing. They're not open to the wonders of the world. And so you look at the cave, right? The people in the cave, they don't want to go outside. They don't even want to test this guy's theory. They don't want to know if there's light out there. They are so convinced that the shadows on the wall are real. And that's okay. But you are forsaking the potentiality of growth and transformation for that. And so this path of the hero's journey isn't necessarily for everyone. And in fact, it's designed this way. It's designed for everyone to say that you can't do it, because only by if it was safe to do, everyone would do it. Everyone would be saying, hey, go do this journey, do this thing, this and this thing. And it actually ruins the story. It ruins why you would do it in the first place. It ruins adversity. It ruins the hardship and the obstacles along the way. And it's the hardship and obstacles that actually help you transform. And so if you really want to transform yourself, then understanding narrative, understanding how the hero's journey works and how this relates to the allegory's cave that Plato was talking about, is going to be very, very beneficial to getting you on the right path to your own unique transformation, your own unique vision, your own truth. And this is what I believe destiny is. Destiny is, your destiny and my destiny is to uncover our potential, is to uncover who we actually are. And that might be different for everyone. However, the destiny is the same. The fact that we are all becoming our greatest selves and our greatest potential, that is the common denominator amongst all of us. And so we need to respect the fact that you have your own journey and your own light and your own path. And I have my own light, my own journey, my own path. And in that sense, we are united. We have the same goal, the same destination. We just have different ways of getting there, and it looks different on the shadow. So the light is the same, the sense and drive and everything is the same, but the shadow that we cast to others, the way it looks to others, is going to be very, very different. But that is not what unites us. What unites us is the common value towards transformation, growth, and the light and truth and authenticity, as opposed to denying what you believe is the right path for you and accepting the path and feeling like you're in the cave, listening to those other people and not taking the chance to step outside of that and to see your own world, to see your own truth. And so, the reason of this podcast episode was kind of to help you understand that it's okay to do that. And it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. But if you are up for that challenge, then I would highly recommend you go and you do that challenge, because that's what the world needs right now. The world needs more hero archetypes. It needs more people to stand up for their own truth and to stand up for what is right. And sometimes along the way, you're gonna be distracted by other shadows. You're gonna be distracted by things that aren't necessarily your truth. But the world, if you believe that by following that path, you eventually get there, it'll be easier for you to let go of things that you thought were true along the way, but necessarily aren't true. And that's happened to me a lot of times. Like I thought potentially coaching was my destiny or what I should be doing. And it's not that I'm changing my jobs and changing my careers. It's that I'm trying to uncover what is the common thread between everything that I do, and what is the common skill set, and what are my strengths in all these different areas that I can fine tune over time that'll bring me closer and closer to the truth. And so if I keep acting in a way that I deny the truth when I know the truth, I'll never really end up there. And so it is a scary path, because telling the truth, you're constantly confronting the unknown. And in fact, it is the only way that you can actually live an adventurous life. And so if you value adventure, you should value truth, because truth will take you on a crazy ass adventure. And I couldn't imagine living a more exciting, like, is there actually a more exciting way to live life than actually pursuing that? I don't think so. But hey, that's not for everyone. You don't have to live life in that way or agree with that sort of mindset, but I'm sure a lot of people do, and a lot of people need that extra push and guidance and just someone that believes in them and more so believes in themselves. And so this episode is for that exactly. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to know more about, I guess stories from ancient times, let me know what stories you'd like to hear from and hear my opinion on those. Things like Plato's Allegory of the Cave, but also, different stories, different movies. I love debunking that sort of stuff and trying to make it relative to my own life and to your life and to today's society. But yeah, if you like this episode, like, share, comment, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.